Hi friends. Today we embark on another captivating journey into the shadowy world of true crime stories. Get ready to investigate, discover, and reveal the secrets of a dark and dramatic case. Are you prepared to dive into this thrilling investigation? Let's begin now. Today we will discuss a tragic event that occurred in Knoxville, Tennessee at approximately 4 a.m. on December 6, 2004. A young man named Aymami was seriously injured and ran into a store, conveniently located near Brandon Park Apartments, to call 911. Jason said he was sleeping in his room when he was awakened by the screams of his roommate, 21-year-old Johnia Berry. When he walked out to the living room, he saw a strange man coming out of Johnia's room. According to Jason, when they made eye contact, the intruder rushed forward and stabbed him. Although injured, Jason still tried to fight back and escape from the apartment. His detailed description of the attacker helped police create a sketch that was widely circulated in Knoxville over the next 3 years. Immediately afterwards, many police cars and ambulances were dispatched to the scene. Paramedics found Johnia at the entrance to the apartment complex, where she was knocking on neighboring apartments' doors asking for help. Her bloody fingerprints were found on the doors of all the nearby apartments, but sadly, no one opened the doors for her. Johnia was taken to the hospital, but despite all the doctor's efforts, she still could not survive. During the forensic examination, experts discovered 20 stab wounds on her body. Aymami, the 911 caller, was also injured with a stab wound to the chest and multiple defensive wounds on his hands. When police checked the apartment, they found it empty and signs of a struggle in Johnia's room. They found a bent kitchen knife in the living room, which was determined to be the murder weapon. Bloody shoe prints led from Johnia's room to Jason's room and then out the back door, showing that the attacker had left the apartment complex. Johnia Berry was born on August 26, 1983 in Bristol, Tennessee, about 120 miles from Knoxville. She has 2 brothers from her mother's previous marriage. After graduating from high school in 2001, Johnia enrolled at East Tennessee State University, majoring in psychology and criminology. During her studies, she met Jason White, and their relationship quickly turned into love. Jason planned to become a lawyer, and after a while, Johnia also decided to pursue this path. However, just weeks before her death, Johnia had moved from Michigan to Knoxville, where she planned to study for a master's degree in child psychology, a field she was truly passionate about. Her relationship with Jason was difficult due to distance, but her family supported her decision to leave law school because they knew that she loved children and did not want to waste her life on useless things. Really suits me. But when she moved to Knoxville, Johnia lived with Aymami, a fellow student at East Tennessee State University. Jason was 2 years older than her and had invited her to live in a room in his apartment. Johnia believes she knows Jason well because he is dating a friend of hers. She accepted and planned to move as soon as she got used to the new city. On December 5, 2004, Johnia took a part-time job at a jewelry store. After her shift, she said she would meet her colleagues and go home, but the next morning, she passed away at the hospital. Jason, her roommate, becomes the first suspect. After being taken to the hospital to treat his injuries, doctors confirmed that Jason's life was not in danger. When examining the crime scene, police found no signs of forced entry, suggesting that the attacker may have been allowed into the apartment or had previous contact with the victims. At around 4 a.m. on December 6, 2004, a tragic incident occurred at the Brandon Park apartment complex, causing investigators to consider many different aspects. One of the notable things was the Atlanta Braves hat found on victim Johnia Berry's bed. The hat belonged to a neighbor named Brian McLemore, who reported that his car had been broken into the night before, along with several other items such as a stereo and CDs. Investigators found all of these items at the apartment, except for the remaining hat. When examining the scene, investigators found no hair inside the hat, except for the hair of the rightful owner, Jason Aymami. After being released from the hospital, Jason received special attention from the police, as they quickly considered him a suspect in the case. Aware of the situation, Jason voluntarily presented himself to the police to answer all questions. The relationship between Jason and Johnia is a matter of special concern to detectives. Jason said he and Johnia attended East Tennessee State University together, and when she moved to Knoxville, he allowed her to live in his apartment until she found her own place. According to Jason, they are just friends. When detectives asked about the events leading up to his 911 call, Jason said he returned home around 10:30 the night before. Johnia was sitting on the living room floor, wrapping Christmas gifts for orphans. They talked for a while before Jason went to bed. When he heard Johnia scream, he got out of bed to check. When he opened the living room door, he saw a stranger coming out of Johnia's bedroom. The attacker rushed forward, punched Jason straight in the face, causing him to fall back onto the bed. Then, this person used a knife to stab Jason many times. According to Jason's testimony, while lying on his back on the bed, he used his foot to push the attacker to the floor and then immediately ran out of the apartment. On the run, he no longer heard Johnia's screams and believed that she had also escaped. Jason ran as fast as he could to a nearby convenience store, where he asked to call 911. When asked how the attacker was able to get into the apartment, Jason explained that the apartment was on the second floor of a complex, with the main entrance from the parking lot. Glass doors are often open. Each apartment has a back door, convenient to get in and out. Jason said he didn't know if the back door was locked because it was rarely used. Evidence collected showed that the bloody shoe prints leading from Johnia's room to Jason's room and out the back door did not match Jason's shoe prints. Investigators asked Jason if he would be willing to take a polygraph, and he agreed, hoping the police wouldn't waste time on him but would instead find out his name. Real crime. Female. However, the test results showed that Jason had failed, making him angry and shouting that he was not involved in the case. Johnia's family also began to suspect that Jason was involved in her death. When Jason attended the funeral, Johnia's parents were unhappy with his presence. Although Jason was questioned multiple times and maintained that he had no involvement in Johnia's death, the test results were reviewed by a more experienced examiner, who concluded that the test has several errors, meaning Jason may have passed the test. Jason's description of the attacker helped create a composite sketch, which gradually spread in the media. Another suspect was Jason White, Johnia's boyfriend, but he was quickly eliminated as a suspect. He asserted that he spoke to Johnia on the phone around midnight and that his phone signal was picked up in Lansing, Michigan, where he was attending law school. The attack happened about 4 hours after that conversation. The distance from Lansing, Michigan to Knoxville, Tennessee is nearly 600 miles, making it impossible for Jason White to cover the distance in 4 hours by car. The only way he could get to Tennessee faster was by plane. However, during the investigation, police discovered that Jason did not check any flights, so he was eliminated from the list of potential suspects. Johnia Berry's parents do not believe Jason White may be involved in the case. Johnia's mother, Joan, was very close to her daughter and never heard Johnia mention Jason White's rude or jealous scenes. Furthermore, the couple had planned to get married in April 2005, but now Jason White had to place the purchased ring in the bride's coffin. Johnia's family still suspects Jason Aymami, her roommate, may be involved in the incident. However, the lab report confirms that another person was present in the apartment the night of the incident. Forensics found blood from an unknown person on the knife, on the back door handle, and on the stairs leading from the back door to the upper floor. It seems that the perpetrator cut himself when attacking Johnia and Jason. The DNA sample obtained from the unknown suspect was tested, but no match was found in the database. Fingerprints found on the knife handle also yielded no results. There was no match in their records. Police also checked records from local hospitals, but no one sought medical help for such cuts in the weeks after the incident. Police realized there must have been other people in the apartment besides the victim and her roommate. Although Jason Aymami is no longer considered a suspect, many people still blame him for fleeing the apartment without being sure that Johnia had also left. In fact, Jason was criticized for surviving, forcing him to move to another state. Jason had to deal with many nightmares, insomnia, and pain. Although he tries to handle things calmly in public, things are different at home. Nearly 2 years after the incident, Jason finally decided to get his own apartment back. His brother and sister-in-law gave him a place to stay while he recovered. Jason emphasized that he did not run away, but just moved back to Colorado to reunite with his family. He moved to Tennessee with his parents, but they returned to Colorado after learning it wasn't right for them. Jason stayed on to study at East Tennessee State University, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in accounting. He couldn't share much about his thoughts on the case for legal reasons, but he followed his lawyer's advice. After authorities released a sketch of the suspect, police received an anonymous call reporting that a group of teenagers had shoplifted in the area where Johnia lived, and that one of them looked like the person in question. Access. This person was identified as Michael Perpetrator, 19 years old, had facial features similar to the sketch, and lived a few kilometers from the crime scene. Furthermore, the police had an arrest warrant for him in an unrelated case. Michael Perpetrator was brought to the interrogation room, where detectives noticed his shoes had a sole pattern that looked similar to footprints found at the crime scene. While awaiting a warrant to seize his shoes and obtain a DNA sample, investigators questioned Michael about his connection to Johnia Berry's death. However, he was confused about the details and could only provide information he knew from news reports, leading detectives to suspect that Michael just wanted to be the center of attention. Johnia's family distributed more than 1,000 flyers with sketches of the suspect and offered a $70,000 reward to anyone who provided valuable information. However, all these efforts were fruitless and the investigation stalled for many years. Joan and Mike Berry, Johnia's parents, were determined not to let the case become a dusty file on an archive shelf. They continuously called and met with investigators to ensure that their efforts to find justice for their daughter were not forgotten. The breakthrough in the case came in April 2007, when a driver in Tennessee saw a billboard with a picture of Johnia and a sketch of the suspect. This driver called the police and reported a man with a similar appearance named Taylor Lee Olson. When detectives found Taylor and brought him to the station, he insisted he had nothing to do with Johnia Berry's death and agreed to take a DNA sample. After the lab report was released on September 20, 2007, results showed that DNA recovered from the crime scene matched Olson's DNA. His blood was found on the knife in the stairwell and in Johnia's room, along with his fingerprints on the crime weapon. Olson was arrested and charged, but he claimed he did not know how his blood ended up at the crime scene. After much questioning, Olson finally confessed. He testified that on the night of the incident, he and a friend went to the apartment complex where Johnia lived with the intention of stealing a car. They searched for an unlocked car, but when a resident saw them and screamed, Olson's friend ran away. Olson decided to look for unlocked doors to get into the apartment to get the car keys. The first door he tried was unlocked, leading to Johnia's apartment. Once inside, he used his phone to light his way and checked the living room and kitchen, but couldn't find the key. He then decided to go into the bedroom where Johnia was sleeping. As he opened the bedside table drawer looking for the key, he heard a woman's voice ask, "Who are you?" And then came Johnia's scream. Olson claimed that Johnia injured him with the knife she was holding and that in anger, he stabbed her multiple times. However, investigators do not believe Johnia left the knife in the bedroom. They assumed Olson couldn't find the keys in the living room and kitchen, so he decided to break into the bedroom. When questioned, Olson claimed he did not remember anyone else being in the apartment besides Johnia. He pointed out that he had no intention of killing her and that it was an accident. When the detective asked if there was anyone else with him, Olson initially said no, but then changed his statement, claiming that the crime was not committed by him but by his friend Noah Cox. Cox, like Olson, has a criminal record and has facial features similar to the sketch. Olson told authorities that in December 2004, he lived with Noah Cox at a complex near Johnia Berry's apartment. Olson's story becomes increasingly complicated, and investigators continue to search for the truth in this heartbreaking case. During the investigation, police heard Noah Cox's name early on, before Olson was arrested. Cox was questioned 22 days after Johnia's death and denied any involvement in the crime. He provided his DNA sample, and the results showed that it did not match the DNA sample from the scene. Furthermore, on Cox's body, there were no signs that he had participated in the fight. There were no new cuts, bruises, or scars. If Cox had actually been in Johnia's apartment that night, he would have left no trace. Records show Cox spoke multiple times with investigators, including after Olson was arrested. He told authorities that on the night of the murder, he was drunk in his apartment and found Olson gone when he woke up. Jason Aymami, who survived the attack, was asked to identify the attacker, but he could not be sure if it was Olson or Cox. Taylor Lee Olson's trial was scheduled for September 2008. Johnia's mother, Johnia Berry, had prepared a list of questions she wanted to ask the person who took her daughter from her. However, on March 24, 2008, just 5 months before the trial, Taylor Lee Olson was found dead in her jail cell. He took his own life, leaving behind a farewell letter emphasizing his innocence and blaming Noah Cox for Johnia Berry's death. Knox County Deputy Kevin Allen scheduled the case for trial. After Olson's death, he argued that any case against Cox would be based on Olson's self-serving statements and the testimony of 2 prisoners, a friend of Olson's who attended his funeral and another bragged about working with Taylor to blame Cox. There was no concrete evidence that could link anyone other than Taylor Olson and the victims at the crime scene. Kevin Allen wrote in a memo that the case was closed, although he felt it was unlikely that Olson would enter a house that was clearly occupied without leaving a trace. He concluded that there was insufficient forensic evidence to proceed with a sustained prosecution. Olson's former attorney, Gregory Isaacs, commented that this is one of those unfortunate crimes that will never be completely solved. Joan and Mike Berry, Johnia's parents, saw Olson's actions as an admission of guilt. They have no doubt that Olson took their daughter's life, but they also cannot rule out the possibility that Cox was at the scene that night. The Berry family sued the Brandon Park apartment complex for failing to ensure the safety of residents. The parties reached an out-of-court settlement in 2007. The Johnny Ayer Act was also signed into law in Tennessee, requiring the collection of DNA samples from people convicted of serious crimes, as well as those arrested and charged for those crimes. Ultimately, the question remains who is really responsible for Johnia Berry's death. Is Taylor Lee Olson or Noah Cox guilty? Please share your opinion in the comments section. Thank you for watching this video.
Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Don't miss out on the pulse-pounding updates from true crime stories. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell. Stay tuned for the latest in dramatic and thrilling crime narratives that will keep you at the edge of your seat.